Well, hello there, and welcome to the FOX6 Sports Blitz. I'm Brandon Cruz, Lily Zhao alongside. Tim Van Born is live downtown at Fiserv Forum. After the Bucks lost tonight, we have so much to get going and talking about because the Bucks right now, well, they're stumbling into the playoffs as they do clinch a playoff spot despite their loss tonight. The Brewers are rolling as they head out east and take on a division opponent. The Racing Sausages make us say what? And a Badgers great receives his call to the hall. And of course, we finish up with our high school hotshot.
I think when it comes down to it, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that because of who Giannis is, who I am, and who Chris is, you know, we smart enough and we good enough players to figure it out, you know, when it comes time. And I see us being able to put it together when it comes down to it.
But the question is there enough time with 4 games left? This team has lost 4 straight, 6 of their last 7. Tim, you were there tonight. Is this team spiraling out of control, or is this something that they really believe they can fix come playoff time?
They do believe, they're saying it, they believe it. Doc Rivers says they're too talented. Damian Lillard listed the people when he looks around the locker room, it says, we're too good. So they believe it. I don't know that it's enough, though. There was plenty of half-court basketball here tonight. They couldn't stop the Knicks. Jalen Brunson was way too much. Bucks couldn't score enough. The Knicks had 17 more shots than the Bucks had. That means you're not doing it offensively or defensively. You're not getting the loose balls. I grant you, it's near the end of the regular season and we're in early April, but it just doesn't trend well, particularly these losses at home and this 6 of 7 setback stretch.
And Tim, when you hear Doc Rivers talk in the last few games following these losses, he's kind of called out these players in different ways, not necessarily by name, but as a group, and questioning their effort, questioning their heart. What kind of sense did you get from this group today before, during, and now after this loss?
They think it's going to click in. I'm not sure that it is. Doc Rivers talked about the loose balls. They were going the Knicks' way all night long. That's not fluky. Then you go into the Knicks. I talked to a couple of guys in the Knicks locker room. They say that's our identity. Well, look at the way the Knicks are rising through the standings in the Eastern Conference. You have to play hard if you're going to win the games that matter. It's debatable for some, of course. How much do these games matter right now? But the Bucks have lost their cushion for the 2nd seed. And the Knicks are one of those teams that's coming and looks like it's going to have momentum. Bucks had a very abrupt exit last year in the playoffs. What does this season hold?
Yeah, it is very interesting, Lily. When you do look at the standings, this team is only a half game better than the Knicks and the Orlando Magic, only a game and a half better than Cleveland. Are they going to hold on to the 2nd spot, or are they going to fall all the way down to the 5th?
It could potentially be a Bucks playing in the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference standings, because when you're looking at the playoff seeding right now, Milwaukee really in a tenuous spot because they do play the Magic 2 more times before the end of the regular season. If they drop both, I mean, they're falling behind Orlando. And when you're looking at the rest of their schedule, they have Boston, Orlando, Oklahoma City, and Orlando. Could they feasibly lose all 4 games? Yeah. Could they feasibly win 1 of 3? Yeah, but that doesn't really guarantee you holding on to the 2nd spot, knowing that these other teams are right there behind them. So they should have won those games against sub-500 teams. Instead, they lose 3 straight. So that doesn't give you the cushion that you need. But when you look at how tough the remaining schedule is, it really doesn't bode well for the Bucks to hold on that number 2 spot.
All right, we have seen this team play shorthanded at many different times throughout the season. A lot of times it's been Chris Middleton who hasn't played. Lily, he gets injured tonight. It goes out with a mouth injury. We don't know a whole lot more than that. But how big of a deal is it that he has not been consistently on the floor?
I think it's a big deal because we talked about, okay, once Chris gets back, this team will look like itself, right? It'll look like the starting 5 that I think fans wanted to see with Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Damian Lillard in the starting rotation. Giannis doesn't play in their loss to the Raptors, but Dame and Chris do, and now you get all 3 of them back tonight, and Chris leaves in the 2nd quarter and allegedly talking to a dentist about oral surgery. So if that happens, how much longer will he be out for? But it certainly doesn't help their case because he has struggled, but he also come up and dropped 20 points per game, so that helps. But it doesn't help with the chemistry right now when you still have 4 games left in the regular season, knowing that who knows how long Chris will be out. So it certainly doesn't help.
Yeah, chemistry seems to be a question, Tim, with this group. Some might say from the outside, this group doesn't look like they're together at all or connected, maybe in different factions. Are you seeing any of that when you're around this team?
I don't see the chemistry issue, guys. I really don't. I see a sluggish basketball team. I see they're not passing the ball. They're not getting the opportunities for easy baskets. They're working very hard. They're using a lot of minutes on their main players. To me, you go back to that Laker game where you're up double digits, 19 points. You're playing all these guys through 2 overtimes. You should have been able to get them off the court and take that win easily. I think you're seeing the toll being taken now, the heavy minutes, the games that they've had to grind out, even the games that they were winning that they've had to grind out. To me, it looks like a sluggish basketball team. Doc Rivers is talking about, and the players are talking about, the ball getting stuck offensively. It looks like that. To me, the Knicks today, we were losing by double digits at halftime, but in the second half, they clamped down defensively. Bucks couldn't get any easy shots. There's rim protection by New York. Then you have to take 3-pointers, and eventually that's just kind of living with hope at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this team motivates itself or if Doc Rivers has to play a role. But either way, if this team wants to move forward, they have to find a new energy than what we've seen in the last 7 games or so. Well, it is halftime, and that means it's time for the Fox 6 Splits Insta Poll. You can go directly to the question by scanning this QR code or going to our website, fox6now.com. Do you still consider the Bucks a title contender? We're looking for your answers. We'll give them to you throughout the show, and we'll see what you think by the end of the show with your final answers.
Just coming to the yard every day, just ready to compete, one game at a time, being aggressive. No one guy's going to do it. We got to all come in here and not try and do too much. Just keep being aggressive and competing in the box, competing on the mound, and it'll take care of itself.
And so far, the Brewers have been competing. They're 6-2 as they head out and get ready for Cincinnati tomorrow. Lily, when you look at this team sitting at 6-2, their starters have not really gone deep into games consistently. What's surprising you a bit about where they stand right now?
I think it's just the consistency with their offense and their ability to hit, but also with their pitching staff, they're kind of doing an all-hands-on-deck approach, and it's working rather well, right? You see, Colin Ray going 6 strong today. They just need 2 pitchers in this game, which is really impressive, but just kind of like a bullpen by committee, a starting rotation by committee, and these guys are getting it done. I think it also helps that when you do have an offense that can get runs on the board, and that really does help the pitching staff as well. But I'm very encouraged with what I'm seeing thus far in terms of their arms and their availability, and also just their ability to get strikeouts and just get guys off in terms of tough positions. We see Hopi Milner kind of making a good run there as well, and Colin Ray today, really encouraging performance from him despite getting up 2 early runs there.
Yeah, and one was unearned, so his ERA is continuing to go down. Tim, speaking of this pitching staff, they had the benefit of a few days off over this first 10-day stretch of games. Now they don't get one for a while. What does that mean for the starters and that bullpen as they now head out on the road?
It's a major test. Let's be honest. 6-2 is terrific. Even Pat Murphy the other day was saying, we don't have 5 starters. That's when he still had Jacob Junis on the active roster. Now he's off, and Aaron Ashby's back up from the minors. It's a big test on this staff, no question about it. They're not getting innings eaten up by the starters. The pitchers have been okay, but they're just not eating up the innings, which then means sooner or later you have to use everybody. You have to use a lot of guys. That's not the formula you want to go with. It's the current Brewers formula, and to their credit, they've done well to this point. But it's going to be tough the remainder of this month, and there just may not be too many options for Pat Murphy to turn to. I just kind of chuckle, guys, Lily and Brandon. What if we spun back a Blitz episode from last summer? It would be a 180. We'd be talking about, they can get good pitching and deep into games, but do they have any offense? Here we're talking about the exact opposite.
Yeah, and Tim, you're right. And this offense, the stars are stepping up, the role players are stepping up. It seems like everybody is contributing. When you look at a box score or you watch a game, everybody up and down this lineup, top to bottom, is making an impact.
What an offseason acquisition Oliver Dunn was, right? Who even knew who Oliver Dunn is? These guys have stepped up. They have contributed. As you said, Brandon, it's not fluky. It's not just one guy. It's been throughout the lineup. It's been guys who haven't played for a game or two, then they come in and do something. That's really supporting the club to this point. It will be tough to keep all these guys going, I think, particularly if you get some behind in some games. They've been getting ahead in games. That definitely helps things too.
Speaking of defense, Lily, that's another part of this team that is really shining right now, especially when you look at Bryce Terang. He made a couple of great plays today, one that really stands out. But why is this defense also able to help this pitching staff and the offense? Because it seems to ignite the offense.
It really does. And I think you watch these guys, and obviously when you're playing baseball, you're not just hitting the ball. You're asked to be doing duties in the infield and the outfield where you're making good catches and you're watching your teammates really help out on the defensive end. That gets guys juiced up, right? And you're talking about the normal suspects. Bryce Terang has been really good defensively, but you have Oliver Dunn making really good plays. You have Jackson Churio making some good catches out in right field. So everybody's contributing, but I think when you have a solid defense behind this pitching staff that needs help, and despite them still pitching very well, that just gives this team, it's a very well-rounded ball club. It's not just a team relying on strong pitching. It's relying on strong pitching, but also really good defense. And I really, really like the body of work so far from that end.
Is Pat Murphy the X factor that we're seeing with this team right now?
Maybe. I mean, guys talked about, Christian Yelich had a name for him. Forgot what the name was, but it was a funny one. But
Patches.
Thank you. Patches O'Houlihan?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So, maybe he's just igniting him, just a different kind of managing sort of style with Pat Murphy, the dry humor. He's very direct and kind of speaks his mind, but maybe it's just a different kind of culture a little bit there with Pat Murphy and what he's able to do with the ball club, and obviously kind of putting guys in position in the lineup and in the pitching rotation as well. So guys have certainly responded well. They're playing loose and they're playing kind of the Pat Murphy brand of baseball.
Yeah, and Tim, it seems like every time he makes a decision, it's been the right one, being it send a guy to steal a base, be it to change the order. Today he talked about putting Oliver Dunn at the top because they were talking, and Quentin Barry said, hey, maybe look at this. So he sat with his coaches and said, do it. Let's do it right now. So these changes all seem to have the Midas touch, so to speak.
Week one for Pat Murphy, Major League Baseball manager, in the Brewers situation at least, A+.
It really has been. All right, well, the Brewers brought out the big guns Saturday night, and I mean big guns. Look at this. It's Enrique Ogunbowale, a former Fox 6 high school hotshot, a current Dallas Wings guard, and, of course, an NCAA champion. She throws out the first pitch, and it was a strike, and it's only April. I mean, she's ready to go. After 5 years at the helm at Marquette, women's head coach Megan Duffy is moving on to take over the Virginia Tech program. She won 110 games in her tenure with the Golden Eagles, guiding them into the postseason in 4 of her 5 seasons. The school is currently looking for her replacement. And UWM's Langston Wilson taking part in the slam dunk contest. He scores a respectable 51 points from the judges on this effort, but he doesn't make the finals. Meanwhile, Pewaukee native Jack Golke took part in the three-point competition. The Oakland star doesn't win, but he's relishing these new opportunities after making a name for himself in the NCAA tournament where they advanced to the round of 32. We'll be right back with Say What.
I want to run through a wall for him.
Maybe, no, didn't miss that. He'd thrown it in from everywhere.
Oh, man, yeah. I didn't know I had to make a case for that.
That almost offends me.
Don't get me wrong, I wish I did.
First sausage race of the year. Look out, Byron! The bratwurst almost took out the center fielder. Could you imagine if Byron got hurt, run over by the bratwurst?
Thanks for staying up with us on the FOX 6 Sports. But imagine that if that was on the injury report taken out by the bratwurst. Luckily, the Twin center fielder, Byron Buxton, is okay. Got out of the way. Brandon and I, we were at the game. We're like,
I mean, his reflexes, I think they need to put kind of like a siren type thing going on in that dugout.
Get in the dugout.
The people visiting know today, many of the Mariners were slowly trickling out as they were getting ready for this race. Oof. And you had to look out, but everyone was safe today.
Everyone was good. All right, let's switch gears now to former Badgers basketball head coach Bo Ryan, who will be inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. 14 years with Wisconsin led them to 7 Big Ten titles. A lot of fun with Bo Ryan. And Brandon, I think this honor was long overdue.
It was. He'd been a finalist a couple of times before, and finally now they opened the doors for him. And it's well-deserved. I mean, this guy did so much, not just at Wisconsin, with 2 consecutive Final Fours and the 7 Big Ten titles, as well as the best winning percentage in Big Ten history. But he led UW-Platteville to 4 NCAA Division III titles. He also coached at UWM. I mean, this guy had 32-plus years in Wisconsin, and he was amazing.
And Tim, quickly here, he's downtown right now. You were here when Bo Ryan obviously was coaching for the Badgers. What's your takeaway from him just as a person and a coach?
Absolutely overdue. You guys both said it. Tremendously successful. Did it his way. The relationships that he established stretches so far back. So, yeah, it's over time for Bo Ryan. And how about Jerry West? How in the world was he not in before now?
Question. All right, well, Bo Ryan will be inducted in August, so congratulations to Mr. Ryan. All right, let's check in on our Instapoll question. Remember, you can go directly to that question right now by scanning the QR code on the screen or go to fox6now.com. Do you still consider the Bucs a title contender? Ooh. A lot of people on the negative Nancy's side saying no. We'll see if your answers change after the show. Meanwhile, it's an upset for the ages in indoor soccer. Playing in the NASL Conference semifinals, the Wave take down the Monterrey Flash in overtime in Mexico. Derek Huffman with the golden goal. Why such a big deal? The Flash were the first unbeaten team in league history, and the Wave now move on to the Eastern Finals. Congratulations. Meanwhile, the Fox 6 High School Hotshot is next. Keep it here. Welcome back. We've all heard the phrase, he's driving me up a wall. Well, this sophomore has an inclination for climbing up walls at home. So his parents found him an outlet, which has now become his competitive passion. Here's this week's Fox 6 High School Hotshot.
Hello, my name is Tyler Schmidt, and I'm a sophomore at Waukesha South, and I'm on the Waukesha climbing team and the ARCT climbing team. As a kid, I was always like climbing things like trees, the door frames. So like have my hands like this and then like my feet like this and then like work my way up. So my parents signed me up for this. So then 2 years ago I joined the competitive team and actually started competing. There's top rope, lead climbing, speed climbing, and then bouldering. Each route will have just numbered holds on them. And then based on what number you get that many points. We have our individual scores, but then our team gets a score based on how well all of us do. And we just compete against all the other high schools. My latest comp, I was second. And then usually I'm like top 10. As I climb, it's mostly think about like the next hold and like how am I gonna get there, whether it's like pulling, pushing, like a jump maybe. So you can't just like touch the hold and then get the points. You have to like actually make upward movement. I am like a bit stronger and I have a pretty solid upper body. So for some climbs, if I have to rely more on like my arms and like more pulling, I can do that. And I'm somewhat flexible, so I can get my feet pretty high. I've done a little bit of bouldering outside. Yeah, being outside and in nature is great. Sometimes we climb like cracks, so there's like a crack in the wall and then like we go up. And sometimes there's like animals in there. And then it's also great when you get to the top and then just like look at the view. Rock climbing is still like relatively new, but it's really cool to think that it's like in the Olympics, there's like high level competition for it.
That's insane.
My name is Tyler Schmidt and I go to Waukesha South. I'm a sophomore. I'm on the Waukesha climbing team and the Adventure Rock climbing team. And I'm this week's Fox 6 High School Hotshot.
And next up for Ty and his team are the state finals on April 13th at Adventure Rock, Milwaukee. The all-day event is open to the public with upwards of 20 high schools competing. Meanwhile, one of our former Fox 6 high school hotshots, KK Arnold, played in the most watched women's basketball game ever in the Final Four. The Germantown Star finished with 14 points in UConn's national semifinals loss to Iowa. Well, speaking of the Hawkeyes, Caitlin Clark and Iowa squared off against Camila Cardoso and South Carolina in the women's national championship game. The Gamecocks cap off an undefeated season with their second national title in 3 years. They win 87-75. And afterwards, South Carolina coach Don Staley thanking Clark for being one of their greats in their game and uplifting their sport. All right, we'll be right back.
All right, to you, the Bucks have not inspired a lot of optimism as they go into the playoffs.
And the last 4 games of the regular season certainly aren't easy. Bucks back at home against the Celtics on Tuesday, then the Magic.
And the Brewers hit the road, 4 with the Reds starting tomorrow, and then they go to the Orioles, and you know who's over there. Ooh. We'll see how they do as they hit the road at 6-2. Well, thanks for staying up with us. Tim Van Voren downtown, Lily Zhao, I'm Brandon Cruz. We will see you next Sunday night where we'll have so much more to talk about as the playoffs near.